Hello, everybody. All of you listeners walking around with your headphones on and listening to your phones and driving your cars and canceling appointments so you can hear us. It's very good to have everybody here. I'll just introduce the podcast for a second and then the cast of characters. So this is the podcast To Hell and Back, and it's about surviving. It's where we try to bring you, all of you, tools for surviving difficulties in life and tools for thriving in life, tools for getting to the next level, tools for pursuing a life worth living. So it's a tool-based thing. We want you to really use the stuff we're talking about. We don't want to do a podcast where you don't go out and do something different. So just wanted to let you know that. And so we're always
pressure.
No pressure. No, you don't have to. You don't have to do it. There's no homework. There's no homework that anyone's going to check on. You do. Just hearing us, I think, might be a good start. And so I want to say hi to Nicole, who's, as you know, my co-host. Hi, Nicole.
Hello. Hi.
And we have an unusual podcast today because usually we're focusing on people who are here, and when we do interview people. If we don't just talk to ourselves and you, we interview people that are going through hell at the moment or recently, whether they've lost somebody, whether they have an illness, whether they're just having trauma, whether they're just having a really terrible time in their lives. And we focus a lot on behavioral skills and on ways of thinking. But today it's a little bit different. It's more of the emphasis on thriving in life and getting to the next level. And so we have a really special guest. It's special for a couple reasons. One is that it's somebody that I've known in my life for probably the last 16 or 17 years, and on and off during that time, and who I've always had enormous respect for and have learned things from myself, and who's sort of a model of dedication and willingness and courage. And spends his life helping other people do those things through being a fitness trainer and training elite athletes, training everyday people, training 13-year-olds up to 80-year-olds, training one of the NBA basketball players that's best in the world, and boxers that have won national championships, and beauty queens who have won beauty contests and bikini contests and bodybuilding for women and men. It's just sort of across the board. He's been running gyms for a long time. His name is Cem, which is a weird, you would never guess how he spells his name unless you come from Turkey yourself, because his name is spelled C-E-M. And he has an amazing website, if you ever want to look at it, called Cem, C-E-M, condition.com. I highly recommend it. You really see what he's doing. You get pictures, you get all videos and all kinds of things, and some philosophy. And I've known Cem since I met him in Phoenix, because a brother, my younger brother, who knew Cem already, had a house in Phoenix, and we would go there sometimes. And we met Cem, and we went to his gym, which was an early version of what he does now. And my two sons worked out with him. They were teenagers. One of them came back for part of the summer and worked out with him more extensively with a friend, and then did some work for Cem. And Cem just has continued to roll along. He now has his studio up in Portland, Oregon. It's actually Tigard, Oregon, which is just outside of Portland. And as I said, trains all of those kind of people. He trains people all over the world by now. And so we just thought it'd be very cool to see, like, what's the framework of thinking, and what's he do? How does he help people when they come to his gym? What are his goals? What's his philosophy? What drives this man? And where did he come from? That he did this for himself in his own way. So, Cem, I know that's a complicated introduction, but welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you could make it.
Wow, that was incredible, sir. Thank you so much for having me and giving the ability to tell people who are listening to maybe make a little switch in their head to go like, wow, I want to try this method or this kind of a way, and hopefully that can help them to be better in life. So I'm very excited about this.
So when you're working with people, you're not just thinking you want them to get stronger muscles or a better behind or or more power on the court or in the ring. You want them to get something better as a human being.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's about 18 years now I've been doing this, and I'm so blessed because I'm still young enough, but I dedicated my whole time and my life to this. And if you want to be great at something, you have to be almost obsessed with that to be able to do that, in my opinion. So, um, you know, muscles and all that is great, but I think what training done, I seen it early in my life, but now it's almost like proven where people use that more for their mind than just their bodies. It's nice to see where people go. I remember like 15 years ago when I was a young trainer in Arizona, and this gentleman told me him and his wife sat down and they had to cut some expenses. And I'm like, okay, here goes my morning 5:30 appointment. And he goes like, they talked and they're keeping the training in. And I said, can you tell me why, sir? I mean, obviously, he's not training for any competition or anything, just a businessman. Twice a week, actually, Tuesday, Thursdays, 5:30 in the morning. He just gets his work. And he says him and his wife came up with that morning helps him so much to mentally be ready for the whole week. It helps him with getting through work. And that made me start thinking more about this is more than just training the human body, right? I mean, that's amazing. It will help you achieve other things in life if your body is strong. But overall, to be able to make people go through things in life, like you said, you go through hell. If you go through hell, you better just keep walking. Don't stop. If you have a jacket on, take the jacket off and just keep going through that hell. But I want to give those tools to the people to be able to go through tough times physically, mentally, and spiritually, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. One of the things when I think about training, working out, and just really kind of that mind-body connection, I think about engaging on purpose with discomfort, engaging on purpose with kind of like an edge, a place where it's really easy to want to give up, the kind of place where it's not really normal. We didn't really, I don't know, evolve to kind of push past these boundaries, these parameters, but we can if we work with ourselves in a certain way. It's just really, really uncomfortable. And so the majority of people never go to that threshold. They never go to that place where they are pushing past the capacity of what they think their body can do, whether it's marathons or triathlons or elite athletes or whatever. And so it's really interesting to me, what is it that when you're working with someone and at any level really, but helping them move through those self-imposed limitations?
So what I really think is important is, first of all, when you meet somebody, their desire for that change is not that strong, if that makes sense, right? It's I will tell you a quote in a second that hopefully makes you understand that a little bit, and then I go into the point. Mike Tyson's trainer Cus D'Amato said this quote, and I believe it's still on his, if I'm not wrong, in his gravestone yard. He says, "A boy came to me with a spark of an interest. I take that interest, turning into a flame. A flame is not very powerful yet, right? A flame is still, something small. I take that flame, turn it into a fire. Now, a fire is a little bit more dangerous. It can get out of control. I take that flame, turning into a roaring blaze." Now, what I just said is whatever you start with somebody is not going to be as powerful. They're going to feel weaker. And as a trainer and a coach, if you're not fully invested on really, really serving the person you're trying to work with, it's going to be, you're going to be like, you know what? I don't think you're going to achieve that goal trying to go a 100-mile bike ride. So let's just make you just lose some weight. I just took that person's interest and just immediately killed it. And
Yeah.
then you so discouraged, right? You're like, he didn't say he can help me. He just said, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, I mean, discouraged, you know, a human belief and a human desire to do something can be so powerful. I'm not going to worry about the negatives. I'm a strength coach. I would like to help them to get better. So let's fuel those things, but 1% at a time. Some people just, that's the problem, right? Listen, okay, today I'm going to teach you a little bit about breathing. How, when you get a little bit tired, how we can control that. A week later, now let's focus on lifting this weight slowly. Now, if it stays consistent, that person in a year is going to do that 100-mile bike ride and then some. Why? Because you took this in a nutshell, and as the person who is me, the subscriber, and helps them to achieve it, it's the connection that you build to help them. It's not the training. You can look at a video of how to train your muscles. It's that spiritual connection that find that person in your life that can help you get to that. For example, another quote I have right here on my wall, I'm sitting in my boxing ring at the moment. It says, I am embedded to my father for living, but to my teacher for living well. Alexander the Great said that. And what does that show you? Find that teacher that can make you live well, you know, and whatever that is. I am a trainer. There could be other things in life that will help you with that. If it's, you know, if you want to learn how to take boxing, you hire a boxing coach. But I think if you find that person that can help you live well, and if you find that connection, hold on to it and give it a chance, because I really think that can help you as an individual to get out of certain things and become better, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Makes so much sense. Cem, you just made me think about a man that I saw this morning who has a severe mental illness, and he comes in for therapy. And he was saying, and he lives in a family where there's some superstars, like a person who really runs a department in the United States, and another one who's a professor who might win the Nobel Prize. And he's got a lineage of really, really smart people. Actually, their direct ancestor was Albert Einstein, actually. And but he's sitting there talking because he has so many limitations that he has to deal with. And he said that somebody said to him, don't compare yourself to those high-functioning people in your family. It just doesn't do you good. And he was very upset about that.
Yeah, sure.
He said, what do they want? They want me to just sit down and give up. They don't want me to have a life. They don't want me to compare myself. He said, I have to compare myself to people who are great, but then I just have to get there one step at a time. So it's very close to what you're saying. I think it's not just in the gym, it's in the therapy office too. You know?
Absolutely. And I like what you said, like, when I'm going to take it to another step in my training world, I get somebody coming in and says, man, I want to get back to the shape I was in. You know what I say? No. Why put limitations on? Maybe you can be better. I don't want you the past. Forget the past, how you trained or what you did. What if the future can be even better than what you were? Why would you cut yourself short? We want to get back to sometimes to a shape that you think was your best. What is if there's you are today version of yourself is the most elite? You got to learn that present moment. And I think a lot of anxiety will leave you if you can take a deep breath and be like, you know what? I'm going to do what I can do today. Yes, I used to do 10 pull-ups. I can do 1. He's giving me tools to get to, use a band to be able to help you get up. Eventually that band gets lighter. Eventually you do your body weight. We get to 8, we get to 10. Now let's shoot for 11. You never done it before. That gives me satisfaction, because there are parts in life and there are parts of people they can really get better at that. I don't want to give them limitations. That person can be better than them. You know, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy route, but I think it's not nice as a specializing person in a field, as an expert, to give limitations to people. I think that's not a right thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you focus in so much on strengths and possibility, and that you are able to work with so many different people from so many different I guess levels and capacities, and to be present. Charlie and I were talking about this because we both looked at your at some of your material, your website. I even subscribed to Diamond Glutes.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I'm bad at squats. And I hurt my back. So I really need it. I don't know. We'll see if you can help me. But you work with so many different types of people, and you've mentioned many times, I think, on your website, but also in interviews you've done, that you treat every single client that you're with in the moment as your best client, as your most important client. And I'm really curious, in your own mind, how are you able to be so present, so available, and so connected with whoever the person is in front of you, especially since you have such a, impressive client base?
Good question. So for the first point you just said, how can you be example? If you can answer that for me, then maybe I can start thinking about it. What's the difference between the lady who works at behind the desk at Bank of America, who comes to my gym, who wakes up that morning, knows she has a session with me, is mentally prepared, a little bit anxiety, a little bit stressed to come see me because she wants to do better? What's the difference between that person and the person who is extremely good at playing a sport, who dedicated his life for it, and he comes the next session after her to get better at his game? There is no difference. What's the difference? I'm a servant to that. So if I have to separate that, then I'm not really a servant to it, because if they both come with their full ability, slept and ready to work and get better, why is there a difference? There is no difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, even though, Cem, it wasn't like I was there that much, but I remember being in your gym in Tigard and then again in Portland for just little bits of time. And there's an atmosphere in your gym that when a person walks in, first of all, they can hear you all over the place. At least that back in those days, you were very loud. You were loud, and you were like interacting with everybody at once. Like there's a woman over there who's lying on her back and doing some kind of stretching. There's someone over there who's lifting weights. There's someone over there who's boxing at a very elite level. And then there's posters everywhere about Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and all of that's going on. And what you hear in the gym when you walk in is the same thing we're hearing now, which is like this very dedicated belief that every single person is working on something very important. And I have to tell you, this is what I'm about to say is totally true. This morning, what I do for exercise, Cem, is typically go swimming. And this morning I went swimming. And while I was swimming, I was thinking of you. And just thinking of you and remembering what it was like to be in your gym, I started swimming harder. I was like, amazing. I was just like, all right, man, I'm going to take on this pool today. Yeah, and it just helped me with my attitude. So obviously, what somebody gets out of training really carries over more than just the next hour, more than just the next day. It does something that I wish we could bottle and understand, because it really makes a difference. And I think you have to go all out to get that level. I think what you do, it seems like you're into this 100%.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to say that I'm dedicated. Everybody who works puts in their everything, right? But to the question of what Nicola said, listen, how do you get that feeling to be present? So this is what I tell myself. When I wake up in the morning and I'm about to come to work, I cannot be under the influence of any kind of a substance. I cannot be extremely tired. How unfair is that for somebody who comes here and wants to better themselves? And I tell you, I provide you with the best. So that's an insult to me to be able to give that service. That's one. But I do little tricks with that. If you have a new client in the morning, any job you do, you're going to be like a little bit different. Like, hello, welcome to the gym. How are you? Let me show you some things. Now, if that client is 1 year goes by, that's like a lot of training sessions. You kind of a little bit easy. I have a little thing in my when I leave the door to the right of it. Whoever you're about to train, act like this is the first time you see them. So now I just remind myself, it's just a little training tool to tell myself that, hey, that person is coming in. It's like almost a new person. So if Sherry works in this morning, hey, good morning, how are you? How you feeling? Good. Anything hurting? Instead of like, hey, how are you? Because I'm expecting you. And that's another thing in life. Nothing is giving. Don't be expecting these things. Every morning, every night when I'm done, think of this: 4, 5, 6 NBA players trained, big time business people. The mom who has a couple kids trying to get better. At night, I'm a superstar, right? I gave them training. I go to bed as an emperor like Marcus Aurelius. And when I wake up in the morning, I got to be a gladiator again. Because why? Because that day is gone. I don't own that. So when you tell yourself that, you know what? I gave it my best. It's not going to carry over. But then that gives you an ability in the morning to do that same thing again. If you trick your mind with that, you start living that versus going, look at me. I made it. I trained this. If I tomorrow cancel my 6 a.m., it's okay. If you open that door to act like this, that's going to grow. Don't give it the chance to grow. Feed the other purposes more. So that's how I personally do it. And I think hopefully somebody can take some pieces and be like, wow, I'm gonna, you don't even need to do fitness. It could help you with all kinds of other stuff, right? My opinion.
For sure. Yeah, no, what you're saying is so brilliant because it prevents you from taking for granted that you know what's going on with someone. Also, you're really seeing them with fresh eyes, and the relationship, even though there's something established, maybe you're still looking at them as though there's new information to be gained. You're working with yourself that way. You're not calcifying into a noun, into a fixed idea, and but you're also holding, it sounds like, both the belief in your capacity and in their capacity for excellence, while not taking for granted that it's just going to happen on its own. And that's really brilliant.
Thank you. Like you said, you're almost satisfying two things at once. You're building myself because I'm like getting better at what I do, and that person is like, wow, I left feeling better, and if you have that gift, and hopefully people find people that can give them that gift, because what gives me energy is if I'm the one that can help you get better or achieve that goal you're trying to do, and you tried with many, that gives me satisfaction. Forget about you have to be like thanking me or try to do something in life that doesn't require you. What do I get out of it? Because what you get out of it is so much more than what you're actually trying to get. That feeling is so much more powerful than if you would have got another extra $100, because you spend that. But that feeling that satisfies it, that you can do it, is more powerful. So listen to those things in your mind versus suppressing them, if that makes sense.
Makes so much sense.
How did you learn this? How did you get this way? Did you train yourself to be this way, or did you have a teacher that taught you all of this?
This is so crazy. Like a lot of people ask me, actually, Mr. Charlie gave me a book a long time ago too. My brain, the way it works, I can never start and finish a book. I stop at something and I dig in and try it in my daily life. Otherwise, it's just information for me. If I read this book, this is going to make you successful. I don't roll like that. I stop in a section. It could take me a month or longer, and I want to live that for a little bit and be able to use that in real world and then put my own thoughts into it, because I think that helps me personally to be able to learn from myself and be able to continue teaching it. And I think a lot of people take on information. It's like, I trained so hard today, but you start forgetting because, you have to use things if you don't use it in daily things, you can't get better as good as if you just learn it, if that makes sense.
Do you have an example of that? I mean, I think that's just so really, really, really interesting, of something you read and then you practice it and just how that process evolves.
So there was a part in the book where, listen to this. If you go into, like they use the gym example, and your gym has TVs in the locker room and sauna and comfortable chairs, in your mind, you're thinking you already made it, right? So you feel like, you know what? I mean, life is good. Let me finish this game on the screen. Let me sit down, answer these emails. So it says, be like the warrior, like the, the Spartans, like where I don't have a waiting area in my gym. So I experiment, like when you walk in the gym, I don't have an area where you got to sit down. You come into my
Get right
machines.
in there.
That doesn't mean you got to jump on them, but it's like, hey, there's one sign when you walk in. I can show you later. It says, success is not owned, it's leased. Rent is due today. And then there's the arrow to my gym. So already it's like, you know what? I got to pay my dues instead of like sit down and, so that's, I wanted to live those things and see if that really makes a difference. Because, one time I read about a gym, it says in their website, come on in between your sets or after your workout or between your workout, sit down, have a coffee, enjoy yourself. I'm not saying that's not wrong. Absolutely not. But if you're trying to achieve something, if you're trying to get that 100-mile bike run, that's not going to work. I'm sorry.
Totally.
So there's an example for that, for example.
That's a great example.
Hey, Cem,
I like to watch people.
You like what?
I said I like to watch those things happening because I'm like, hey, you ready? And they're like, man, I walked in. It feels good. Let's go. So yes, I see those things happening.
I love that you've thought about that, about how you enter, in our work, how you prepare your office, how you prepare your waiting room, where you put your office, how you greet the person in the waiting room, all of those things. And I used to run a hospital program. What's it like when a new patient enters that hospital floor? It's like usually awful. People walk in and it's just kind of like they hang around and they don't know what to do and they feel ashamed. And so there's so many opportunities like that. That's so cool that you think that through. And I want to ask a different thing. It's a same stuff, slightly different direction, Cem. I'm trying to think, out of all these years that you've done this, you must have many, many, many times encountered people running into obstacles where they just can't do another set. They can't go to the next level. They want to give up, whether it's one of your elite athletes or whether it's just your woman who's working at the bank and trying to improve her life. Like, could you have examples of how you have helped people when they run into barriers and they're at a standstill? Injuries, for instance. Yeah.
Okay, you ready for this?
Ready.
Learn how to zoom away from the situation because you like glued to the injury or that rep you couldn't do. Let's zoom out for a second. Look at the bigger picture for like just a week, not your life. Just zoom out a little bit and say, you know what? I got these things done and I improved in this. I have this injury on my foot, but we can't train the core. We can't do the back. If you zoom out a little bit in life, you can say, you know what? I'm going to take that to the back burner, but why my core? Why my arms? I can work on those instead of drilling on your foot to go like, well, I'm a basketball player. I need my ankle. You need your core. You need your mindset. You need your shoulders. So let's focus on that. And then let them they go like, you know what? After you give that kind of a working out in, they go like, I feel good. I said like, just zoom out a little bit. Don't you just focusing so much on one thing. It's going to wear you down, like, hey, I only have those $4 in my pocket. What I'm trying to buy is this much, zoom out and say, I got water. I might not need this croissant, so just think a little differently at that moment versus like just dwelling on what you're trying to get. Like, so that can maybe give you a little perspective of like, you know what? And if that didn't work, take that day off. Okay. Take a deep breath. And then when you come tomorrow, you got to let it go. You got to
Mhm.
say, okay, today I'm going to zoom out and just work on something else, because you
Mm.
cannot feed that either. If you start going like, well, I'm going to take it off, and no, if you come back tomorrow, work on your breathing. That requires nothing. Deep in, out. When you focus on that, in a week, you're back on your foot again. You can work out, but people just stick to one thing. They're just looking over here, man, how am I going to move this out? And they just fixed on it, versus you can be like, let me zoom out. Let me look at the room. I can move it to this corner. I can take this piece off. So just zoom out a little bit and look at different perspective, because sometimes our mind, if you think this is the only way, you believe it. So if you zoom out, you look around that object, you can go, maybe there's another way. But you have to zoom out to see it. Otherwise, how are you going to see it, right?
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, related to that, it's so interesting. Goals, setting goals, and then working with goals. I'd love you to talk about two examples, like one maybe where it's someone you're working with that's never really had a big goal, a fitness goal before, and how you go about helping them set a goal, look towards a goal, believe in themselves, achieving a goal, and then maybe someone that has like a really, really audacious goal, something that's really huge, that's really specific, and that's going to require quite a lot of transformation in order to achieve it. And if there are similarities or differences, all of that.
So a lot of people are visual, right? So let's say somebody brings you an image and says, I want to look like this, right? Immediately a trainer goes, well, her torso is bigger than yours, so forget that. So I'm already shutting you off because
Yeah.
of a torso length you don't have.
Been there.
Right? It's like, you know what I mean? You showed me a person that is this ethnicity, and, over there they do this more, whatever. So I think instead of that, be like, okay, you gave me an image. Now give me a couple other things that can support that is just to you. I never done pull-ups in my life, never just got it. Okay, let's feed that fire a little bit, right? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm just saying, you stick to this one thing. Why one thing? You know what? I never could, lay on the floor and get out without holding on. Stuff that is like more important than just, I want the, six pack. But then if we have more supporting things, I have more options to feed those. Hey, we done the pull up. I'm not there with the torso yet, but I look better. So you don't feel discouraged because we had one thing we didn't get. You're like, screw this. I'm done training. I'm never going to be fit. So help each other with the client or with yourself. Be like, okay, I want to lose this weight. Good. I want to work on when I go for a walk, I start breathing heavily. And I don't think because I'm out of shape. Let's focus on breathing exercises again, right? So do things that support that goal that are maybe, I don't want to say easy to achieve, but there's different ways of being able to get to those. So then we reach one. Okay, now we reach the second one. So there's more things to it. That helps me with clients to be able to say, hey, okay, we want to lose that weight. We're going to focus on that. But you told me you wanted to get strong on your legs to be able to run around with your grandkids because you get tired climbing up the places where the kids go up. So let's focus on that as well. So having those avenues, I think, helps the person to, again, not just drill on one thing like, hey, we didn't get to the pull-up yet, but your torso looking better, right? So you could change opposite too. It doesn't need to be the one or the other.
Yeah, I wondered, like, if somebody comes in and let's say somebody has gained a lot of weight, Cem, and they're like 60 or 80 pounds more than they want to be. And they just feel very discouraged. And they come in to work with you, and they can tell after 1 week, after 2 weeks, there's not much change in their weight. How do you work with that person?
That is the easiest thing in the world. When they come, you gotta just smile and make them feel happy that they're there. Forget the workout. You can train them with the most elite machines or exercises that will make them lose weight. If they not feel like they don't belong there, they're gonna leave. So your first option is to be like, how are you? A hug and good to see you. Thank you for being here. Like, thanks to you made it. I know it wasn't easy. And then they go like, it actually wasn't easy, but see, forget the workout. Then you got good music playing. If they like old funk, you just get it going. Then we start doing some movements because I need to build a habit before trainers get so deep in, okay, this is the best program for you for fat loss. You need it. But that person somehow feels like this person, I'm just another number, another appointment, which, yes, but if you can overcome that, man, you can get them to that position slowly. So create that feeling, because again, it's movement, right? And if you get people moving, but that's deeper than that, because I need you to feel, because you're not going to feel some days like it. And if I'm not really having something in my mind, then you come in, I'm like, you ready? Let's go. Or how about this? Somebody walks in 5 minutes late, right? 5 minutes late. Hey, you're late. Let's get going. It took him so hard to get there because whatever you have to go through to get there, they already come in like handshake. You ever seen somebody who's late? I'm like this. Take a deep breath. You good? You feeling okay? Come on, let's warm up. It's me taking that wherever they were, calming it down. But if I feed that fire and go, you late, come on, let's go. We're already behind. Now I'm already more frantic. The workout is shit. It's gone already. That person is checked out. Yes, you're going to work out, but he didn't feel that. So how you approach that with who you are, and that's more important than the physical aspect. That's where, again, the mind part comes in. That's important to me, and I've seen it work over the years. So I can speak to it versus saying, I think it will work. I've seen it work, so that's important.
It's so fascinating. So I'm thinking about myself now. And so I used to work out quite a bit. I used to run Central Park every morning, took a lot of spin classes, did a lot of Pilates, a lot of yoga. And then through the pandemic and herniated discs in my neck or whatever, I'm in the worst shape of my life. And I have a bit of an ego. And a bit of an attachment to, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but like to the way that, like the shape I used to be in, the way I used to be able to do things. And I find it doesn't matter what we're talking about, whether it's running, Pilates, yoga, spinning, I am so, and this is just me and me, there's nobody else there, but like, I am so anxious and intimidated. And it's like, I don't even want to look at it. Like, because it's so much harder for me to do things that used to be so easy. And I know logically that it's like, all right, just start somewhere. But it sounds like you're like meeting everyone with compassion. You're taking care of the nervous system. You're really welcoming people into wherever they are and allowing that to feel and for me, I'm like always feeling guilty that I'm not doing what I'm it's like it's all of the wrong things, but I don't know how to flip that switch and actually make myself, I used to love moving more than anything. It was like my way of relaxing my brain. And now I just don't. So what do you tell me and people like me?
But listen to this. The switch is on. The switch is not the problem. When I tell that client that I gave the compassion and the thing, and we've been working for a little bit, and I seen them a little bit decreasing, and they're like, oh, this is tough. Now it's my time to give them the motivation because I still got to get results. So we can't be like just hanging out all day. Hey, we did 6 before. Your form looks good. I know you can do 2 more. I believe in that. That's when I get it out. So all you need to do is give the self-love to yourself. You're going to go run. And if you didn't beat the record or whatever, it's fine. But those little moments where you go like, I'm not tired, I'm just not feeling it. That's when you hit the switch higher and say, no, don't do that to me. I'm going to finish this harder. So it's a give and take situation, not constantly beating yourself up. My training doesn't even count because I didn't beat that number. Because it's a journey of training. Your body, the movement is not you're not doing this for, you think you're doing it for destination. There is no destination.
Right.
You know what I mean? You as a person, you said, what did you say earlier? You said like, you're looking constantly to reminding yourself, you're reminding yourself like, I used to be here, right? I used to do this. Look at my quote behind me. Are you ready? Your mind is not your friend. Okay. I'll finish that quote in a little bit, but it's not your friend. You know why? The moment you want to sign up for a marathon, your mind tells you, remember that last time you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? The moment I want to talk to somebody that I find attractive to and have the courage to go up, my mind says, last time you got a rejection.
Totally. It's like it's giving
Yep.
you all the reasons why you're gonna flop.
Exactly. So I'm going to finish that quote when I'm ready right now. That way, hopefully, put those little things next time you start working out into it. Are you ready? Your mind is not your friend. I hope you know that. You have to fight with your mind, control it, put it in its place. You have to control your emotions and learn to impose your will on the reality you want to create. That's a lot going on, but think about little things. It's a daily thing with your emotions. You're like, you know what? No,
Oh yeah, an hourly thing sometimes.
hourly, minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, just with that said, I would like to have you next time you start doing things, don't base it out of one. You're gonna build up. There's times you go, I'm gonna push through this, and there's times I moved. I didn't hurt myself. I'm
Right.
better than before because yesterday is gone. Tomorrow not here yet. I did it today. And even if
Right.
it wasn't your best, that's not what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
So it's a little bit thinking mind of you to changing it then versus like you said, negative. I used to be this and I can barely do it. Then start with a little bit today.
Right. And focus on the reality that you want. I think that's so
correct.
key.
Yep.
You know,
Reality
when
you
that
want to
your
create.
your focus. Yeah, that's everything. Because if you're creating in a creative space rather than a reactive judging space, it's a really different quality. I'm sign me up.
I mean, it's so beautiful just to speak with you guys about this because I believe that there's so many people out there they wanna get to certain places and they just need to find somebody. As a coach, I'm not a creator, right? I just unfold things and unlock things in people because I can never make somebody do something. You are in that shape. You are amazing how you put together. My goal is to help you unlock things. So you go like, wow, I could run this much. I could do these push-ups. So that's what you need to find in life. Hopefully somebody that can help you unlock those things. There's great people out there. And that's important in my opinion.
Yeah.
For me, Cem, it's a different problem. Though I was in better shape, but it was specifically running at one point. But I was never very strong. And so you keep using the example of the pull-up, and I keep twinging inside. I think, shit, he's talking about me. Because I mean, even when I was in elementary school in Albany, Oregon, I mean, and I'm at school and everybody's supposed to go to the pull-up bar and then do as many pull-ups as you could do. And I would just this is it. This is as far as I would get, like just like this. I could not, I'm for those of you who are just listening, I'm just holding my arms up. I mean, I would just hang there. For some reason, the way my body is put together, even if I did a lot of working out or I used some weights or I did some push-ups or I did some pull-ups with some assistance. And then over the years, I just decided, I'm just a human being who will never do a goddamn pull-up, and it was discouraging. And then I go into gyms and I see these people doing pull-ups and some of them look ridiculous compared to me. I mean, I don't look so bad. And there's some people in there who can really just go in and do pull-ups. So what do you do with somebody like me? I mean, it's actually something I'd like to be able to do, but it would take a ton of work to get to do one pull-up. And then what do I have?
One pull-up.
Oh, then I have one pull-up.
How about this? We can talk about you still doing a pull-up, but that could be assisted. Right now you have assistance. You're doing a perfect pull-up, but there's some assistance whatever, like the assistance with the weight or a band that helps you up. Now you did one pull-up. You know what it feels like, what it takes, how much your back gets activated. Then 0 to 1 is harder than 1 to 2, right? So instead of getting discouraged of I'm never going to do a pull-up, I did pull-ups. They were assisted. Okay. And as long as you can decrease that assistant, how you get to the pull up, you still did it. You know, it's not, hey, I was going to run this marathon. You know what? I ran, I walked, I crawled, I still finished it. But it's not just that one thing. Because if you in life, don't give just one aspect to something. I'm not successful because I never got to this point. That is not right, because there's a lot of different ways of success that you don't realize till you don't have that in your life, and you go like, man, I have two arms and I pulled myself up, you know, with a little bit of assistance, versus going like you focusing just too much on that one
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
aspect of it. So that's a good way of looking at it. Of course, I would love you to have 10 pull-ups, and I wish I can tell you I'm the trainer who can make you do 10 pull-ups, but I will help you to get one with assistant, and hopefully we get to one less till you do it on yourself. So, and if you would focus on that every single day, I know you will get there. But then you lose focus of doing podcasts with me or hanging out with your kids. So
Hi.
it's
My kids,
That
who,
makes
by the
sense.
way, my kids, Jim, who know that I was going to be talking to you today, and they have very fond memories of you. So, I mean, I don't know if you remember Max at all working there with you at one point.
How can I forget? He built steps for me. He was making fun of me because I was bodybuilding and I couldn't eat popcorn at the movie theater. And he's giving me popcorn. I said, if you do another one, I'm going to punch you, because I couldn't eat popcorn because I was dieting for a show. So,
Yeah, but I'll tell you, he came home from being out there with you, and all he would eat would be protein powder and various things he would get from a special GNC store or something like that. He was. Hey, look, we're going to stop with this part of the conversation, and
okay.
For those of you who are listening, and probably you want to hear more, it's this 1 week after you hear what you just heard. There'll be the rest of it will be posted. So we're going to have a continued conversation, but we're going to stop for today. I mean, for today, from your point of view. And yeah, so Cem, thanks a lot. And we're going to say goodbye to everybody and ask people to, what do you say, Nicole? It's always so difficult for me because we aren't yet at the place that we make it easy for people
I
to
know
review.
you know what, we're working on that, but you know, you could just
good.
let all of us know how amazing Cem was, and you'll hear more next week.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks
You
so
put
much.
it. You have a much more straightforward way of talking than I do.
Rarely, but that's something.
All right.
All right.
Well, let's hit.